Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our global webinar series today on 10 top tips on how to become a LinkedIn rockstar. My name is Jennifer Ng. I am the Regional Head of Community for Asia Pacific based in our Shanghai, China office. The Executive Center, also known as TEC, is a premium flexible service office provider. Depending on your requirements for an office space, we have different solutions for you. We have enterprise solutions for clients that may be looking for a larger workspace, 20 desks or more, and may require a custom build for their office space. We also have private offices, which are built and ready to move in. Some other options that we have also include co-working and virtual office. So co-working, you will be working in our community lounge, where you'll be able to sit in an open space and also network with some of our members. For the virtual office, it's for members who don't need a physical office, but need a business registration address. We also have meeting rooms and event spaces. So whether you're looking for a small meeting room for 4 people or up to 12 people, we also have space to accommodate these. For larger scale events, we also have our community lounge, which can fit up to about 50 people. The Executive Center has a global network of 36,000 members. We have been in Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Australia for 27 years now. We have over 150 centers in 32 cities across 14 markets. As most of our attendees today are from Singapore, I want to highlight some of the Singapore locations that we have. We currently have 8 centers in Singapore, with our newest center opening in One Raffles Quay. In One Raffles Quay, we have also a brand new auditorium that we have opened. So in this auditorium, we can fit up to 112 people. It's 4,000 square feet, and it's a perfect space for your next seminar talk, your next award ceremony, or symposium, and even screenings. Today, I would also like to share a little bit more about community. Community at TEC is a global business network of our member tenants. Through community, we offer a platform for our members to network, connect, and promote their business. We facilitate this by co-hosting events, offering member benefits, which we all organize with our member companies, business associations, and strategic partners. We cover a number of different types of events. We have business and industry seminars. We also cover training and professional development, health and well-being, social networking events. Sometimes these are organized around holidays throughout the year. And of course, we also have CSR and sustainability events. Here are some of the member benefits that we organize throughout the year. These are a bit more lifestyle focused. They may be hotel discounts, fitness discounts, or even travel discounts. At the same time, we are also offering more benefits related to business services. So these are typically organized with our member companies. As for a community, why partner with us? You can gain access to a global network of more than 36,000 like-minded professionals. You are able to utilize our platform to advance your brand and even generate new business leads. On our side, we can offer event management and promotion, depending on whether it's an online event or an offline event. On the promotion side, we have a couple of different community channels to help grow your business profile. These include our Community Corner, which is the bi-weekly newsletter that we send out twice a month to our members. For events, we also send out direct emails to our members to let them know any of the upcoming events that we have. For member access, we have the online forum where you can post content, view member benefits, and also post articles. In most of our centers, we also have digital screens. These are typically located near the barista area. And we will also put up in-center flyer displays that are in the co-working lounge or near the reception area. Some other channels that we have also include our social media channels, the MyTEC mobile app, which again is members access only, and any of the webinars or events that are recorded, we also share them on our webinar library so you can access all of the content on demand. Now, on to today's session, I would like to introduce our speaker, Chris J., the only CEO with a Mohawk Reed. He's the world's #1 LinkedIn marketing and personal branding expert and is the CEO and founder of the world's #1 LinkedIn marketing and professional branding firm, Black Marketing. He has an unprecedented 1,900 LinkedIn recommendations, 100,000 LinkedIn followers, and has been 4 times the international best-selling books about LinkedIn. He's an official Forbes contributor on LinkedIn and is also an official LinkedIn Power Profile. So we'll definitely gain a lot of valuable insights today. For a quick housekeeping, if you have any questions, we ask that you hold them till the Q&A session. There's going to be a lot of content that Chris will be covering in the next hour. So perhaps if you have a question that comes to mind, it might be something that he may cover in the next slide. So just hold any questions that you may have till the Q&A session. All right, Chris, I'll pass it over to you. Please go ahead and share your screen.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, for a lovely introduction. Thank you very much for everyone for attending as well. Thank you very much on this beautiful day in Singapore, where hopefully you're going to have lots of tips and lots of tricks in terms of what to do on LinkedIn and how to become a LinkedIn rockstar to help you achieve whatever goals you wish to achieve in your work life, in your professional life, because every single person on this Zoom call has a metaphorical mohawk. You all have a USP, a unique selling point that you can stand out with on LinkedIn to create a conversation. And that's all a mohawk is. It's a way of doing that. So your mohawk is the key to your LinkedIn, the key to your success. And I'll talk about how you use your mohawk, your metaphorical mohawk, that is, in your personal branding on LinkedIn itself. But everyone asks this question, so I get this out of the way right at the beginning of my presentation. Why do I have a mohawk? Well, I used to live in London. I created 3 businesses there. I sold them. And then I got a bit sick of the weather over there. So I came over to Singapore and I basically didn't have a mohawk. I looked like this, like every other Angmo. And people said, you look like everybody else around here. And so I need to have something that stands out because nobody knows who I am in Singapore. Nobody knows anything about me. Everyone used to know who I was in London. So I didn't need to have a mohawk in London. But here I needed to have something that basically made go, huh, what's he do? You know, an icebreaker, something that actually makes you stand out to have a conversation about business basically. So I started growing a little mohawk. And then people started saying to me, wow, Chris, I like your mohawk. That's not a mohawk. I come from London. London is made into Sex Pistols and has real mohawks. So then I realized if you have like a striking mohawk, you appear on things like TV, for example, like Channel News Asia, for example, and the newspapers and media, that it tends to stand out, gets people talking, going, huh? How's that bloke have a mohawk and he's a CEO of a business? And what does he do? He does personal branding. So that's where I started using different colors, different ways of doing it. Could be pink, could be blue, and then put it on all 4 of my best-selling books as well. So it stands out. Obviously, I'm talking about personal branding. So you have to basically stand out if you want to talk about personal branding, because the whole idea is to basically talk about your personal branding and basically talk my own authentic experience of my personal branding at the same time. But why LinkedIn? Because people ask me all the time, why did you choose LinkedIn? Well, I used to live in London, and then 2008, I actually came over to Singapore, and obviously 2008 was only 4 years after LinkedIn was going, and basically no one used LinkedIn in 2008, 2009, about 50 million people. And then basically sold my 3rd business, and I thought, what do I want to do now? I could either create another business in London, or I can come to Asia, where I'd never been, I'd never worked, and I didn't know anybody. And I thought, Asia it is. I'm going to basically be brave and go for it. I didn't know anybody there. But what I did have is 200 connections on my LinkedIn. And I asked my 200 connections, do you know someone in Singapore? Because I'm going to go over there and test out things over there and see what happens. By chance, about 20 people said, yes, I know somebody, meet so-and-so, meet so-and-so. I met these people, and I got my 1st, my 2nd, and my 3rd jobs by networking through contacts of LinkedIn. Had it not been for LinkedIn, I wouldn't have got any of these jobs. These jobs didn't exist. They were created by me networking, going along to these places. People go, wow, you've got these skills. I need someone like you to help me do marketing. So that's what I did. But the jobs I had were marketing jobs across the whole of the region, the whole of the Asia Pacific region, which is about 2/3 of the world's population. And the trouble is, I didn't know anybody in the whole of the world's population. I didn't know anybody in China and India and Philippines and Australia and Thailand and Indonesia and Malaysia. So I thought, what do? I'm going to have to use LinkedIn. So I started using LinkedIn in the way that other people were using LinkedIn for recruitment. But I figured if you can use it for recruitment, you can also use it for sales, use it for marketing. You can use it to find somebody in these countries. And sure enough, I became very successful actually finding clients for my employers at the time. And then I thought, okay, this is what I need to do. This is my fourth venture. This is my next business, basically, is helping entrepreneurs and helping leading executives actually use LinkedIn because they don't have the time to do it themselves, and actually help them get jobs, find clients, find investors, find employees, and enhance their own personal branding and do thought leadership. And that's when I created Black Marketing almost 10 years ago today. But LinkedIn is the #1 professional social media platform, and that's really, really key. It's #1 professional, #1 business. It's not your friends and family network, basically. We are on this platform to do business, but with anything to do with business, it still has a personal angle to it, which is why personal branding is key to LinkedIn. It has about 800 million members, and those members are all over the world. I mean, literally all over the world. There's about 200 million in Europe. As you'll see here, UK is the biggest one there, for example, but also places like Latin America, 49 people in Brazil, for example, America, obviously, where LinkedIn was created, nearly 200 million people there. And then obviously the whole of Asia, which is growing vastly. It's the fastest growing region. Places like India, for example, which is the second biggest country with 760 million, for example. And then you have China, for example, which is going to have to switch over very soon to use actually the mainstream kind of international version of LinkedIn, no longer the Chinese only LinkedIn. But you can still have access to all these people using the international version of LinkedIn. But it's not Facebook. And it's so much better for not being Facebook. And that's absolutely key. There are only about 300 million active members every single month. There's about 120 million of us actually every single day, which is minuscule when it compared to something like Facebook or WeChat, for example, which has several billion people using it every single day. That's not LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not mass. It's niche, it's professional, it's business, and that's its benefits. But 60% of the users of LinkedIn are actually on the mobile, and that's absolutely key, because you've got to think, what does my profile look like on the mobile? What does my content look like on the mobile? Because 60% of the people looking at it are on the mobile. But LinkedIn is also the #1 most trusted social media platform. And what I mean by that is basically that Business Insider do the survey every single year and say, what is it trusted? And LinkedIn comes up top year after year after year. You will see that Facebook used to be trusted and now, of course, is no longer trusted for obvious reasons. Twitter is not trusted. YouTube has never been trusted. But all these other platforms have gone down. LinkedIn has always remained the same, partly because LinkedIn does not accept political advertising. Now, we all know that Facebook does, and we all also know that Facebook does not actually limit the advertising and does not check the truth of that advertising. Therefore, people no longer trust things on Facebook, but they do trust things on LinkedIn, and that's key. Because you want to be on a platform that's trusted, you want your content to be trusted, you do not want to be on a platform that's not trusted. Even in 2020 and 2021, for example, the US Digital Trust Survey says LinkedIn is the most trusted social media platform overall. They define digital trust as the confidence users have in the social media platform to protect their information and provide a safe environment for them to create and engage with content. But LinkedIn is like the Godfather. It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's all about networking, 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 and that's key. It's also a gamified platform. So what I mean by that is the more you do things, the more you get rewarded by LinkedIn. If you fill out your profile, like I'll show you today, you get rewarded. If you share content, you get rewarded. So it's all about basically you gamifying LinkedIn. And I love this quote from James Blunt, not obviously because I actually like James Blunt, because no one would actually admit to liking James Blunt, but actually because it sums up LinkedIn very nicely. I'm self-deprecating because I'm British. If I was American, I would tell you how great I was. And that's very, very true. It's all about LinkedIn. You have to be self-promoting on LinkedIn to a degree. And if you look at Google, for example, if everyone Google, and someone will always Google you before they meet you, what tends to happen is your LinkedIn comes up top. It even beats, for example, my URL, which is chrisjreed.com, is the perfect URL, but LinkedIn still put my Google still puts my LinkedIn above my website. And when people are going to meet you, they will Google you. So you should Google yourself and see 9 times out of 10, you will find that your LinkedIn profile comes up top because you are in control of your own LinkedIn reputation. So what is social selling, though? Why does it apply to you? Even if you're not in sales, why does it apply to you? Well, actually, it applies to you because social selling is the process of developing relationships as part of the sales process. Examples of social selling techniques include sharing relevant content, interacting directly with potential buyers and customers, personal branding, and social listening, i.e., what everyone should be doing on LinkedIn. And social selling could be finding clients, could be finding investors, could be finding employees. It could be just sharing, for example, with stakeholder relations. So it doesn't need to be a direct sale, although obviously LinkedIn is perfect for that as well, finding clients. You market your personal brand through your LinkedIn content on LinkedIn. So a lot of what talk about today is about content, content, content. So your first tip is the visual impression. Obviously, I'm big on visual impressions. This is what it's all about. So if I show you a picture of the judge, you get a visual impression about what his values are, the cool makeup, the fantastic hair, the style he has, and obviously the disruption he invents. That's all part of his personal brand. If I show you Karen here, Karen is the GPS girl. So she is on 3 billion devices going recalculating, recalculating, recalculating. But obviously she uses that on LinkedIn. That's her mohawk. Her mohawk is the fact that she's the GPS girl, which is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, she makes no money by being the GPS girl, but she uses it to become a keynote speaker, a concert performer, a coach, and so forth. And everyone knows her as the GPS girl, so she stands out. So you need to be thinking about what your GPS girl angle is, what your USP is, what your mohawk is, and put it on LinkedIn and develop it. Now, your profile picture and your background picture, phenomenally important on LinkedIn. If I show you Miguel here, for example, he's got his banner there, grow your audience, build your brand. And he's obviously very much involved in the kind of the podcasts and the videos and the creative elements of how you use social media, particularly LinkedIn, for example. If I show you Ryan here, Ryan's on places like Discovery Channel and the BBC, climbing mountains and talking about it for the BBC, for example. So on his LinkedIn profile, he has a banner of him climbing a mountain. Fantastic. If I show you Pippa Nut, for example, Pippa Murray, for example, she's got a fantastic product called Pippa Nut, and she has that on her banner. So she's using the banner to say straight away, I am the woman behind Pippa Nut. Fantastic. Here in Singapore, we have Dylan. And Dylan's the founder and CEO of the Urban Spice Shop. So he's got his urban spices up there. Again, absolutely fantastic. And I love Cordelia here. I met Cordelia in Bern in Switzerland. And she has a company called Pink Tank. So she has a pink tank on her banner. Fantastic. So the first thing you think is, what's a pink tank got to do with communications? And then you want to have a conversation with her. So she's also got a fantastic hairdo, as you can see. And obviously pink is big on her brand values. But it's different on a mobile. You've got to really understand that LinkedIn is not mobile friendly. So therefore, basically, it's not mobile dynamic. It doesn't change for the mobile. It stays the same, which causes a problem, for example. So you'll see that my profile, for example, on a laptop looks like this. On a mobile, looks like this. The picture, the photograph actually becomes bigger and moves to the right-hand side. So you have to allow this on the laptop, because again, it's not mobile friendly. Otherwise, this happens. So Dusan here, for example, thinks he's got a lovely banner because it says people up. Unfortunately, Dusan did not check the mobile, because if he had, he would say that people up became eeple up. And that's not quite as impressive. Eeple up is, people go, what's eeple up? It makes no sense whatsoever. So check what your banner looks like on the mobile. Now, don't do things like this, because as much as I might aspire to being George Clooney one day, I'm not. So I can't use this picture on LinkedIn. I have to be authentic. This is what I call your classic Facebook picture. Hey, Junhan here, for example, thought it'd be a great idea to go to a KTV in Shanghai, dress as a panda, and put it on his LinkedIn. Not a great idea at all. It's not kind of brand values you want to put across. And then which one's Melita? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Put one photograph on your LinkedIn profile, not 3, because who am I talking to? Don't use cigarettes. Why would anyone do this? I have no idea. Babies, don't do babies on LinkedIn. Couples, it's not Facebook. Don't put couples on LinkedIn. Family pictures, wedding pictures. Why would you put this on LinkedIn? Makes no sense whatsoever, unless, of course, your business is happy families. And this is what Sean does. Sean actually is the life couple #1 marriage and support relationship platform in the whole of the world. So, of course, he's going to have a picture of him having a happy family, because it's basically conducive and it's sympathetic with his actual role. He's being an entrepreneur. So you basically got to match what your values are in terms of your picture and your banner. Now decide on one picture as well. Don't forget, the mobile can only really see one picture. Don't do something like this. He's got 6 pictures. He comes across as completely indecisive as a result of it. This guy's got 4 pictures of him collecting 4 awards from 2014 and 2015. Really not a great idea. But this guy wins the prize for the most amount of pictures of yourself in a banner. 7. I mean, what's he trying to achieve here? I have no idea. And again, on the mobile, you actually can't see 2 of these pictures on the left-hand side as well. This guy runs in very close, for example. AJ here has 8 pictures. And again, you can't see half of these pictures on the mobile, so why bother doing it? Pick something nice and simple. People do not want to be confused, do not want to spend too much time wandering and trying to figure out why you've got 8 pictures on your banner. for example. Elizabeth here went for the full Tinder look. Again, this is not Tinder on LinkedIn. So Elizabeth, please, you shouldn't really do this, especially as Elizabeth actually works for a small company called the Hyatt Hotel Group. And she's in charge of human resources. So really not a great idea, Elizabeth, to dress as a person in Tinder. But make sure everyone can see your profile picture as well. A lot of people do this. They actually think that everyone can see their profile pictures when they've actually gone to their settings, and for some reason LinkedIn has defaulted to make sure only the first connections can see it. Because when I did this presentation to Mark, for example, Mark said, no, I have a picture. I definitely have a picture, Chris. And sure enough, when we were first connections, I can see it, but his second connections could not see it. And that often happens to people. So you've got to make sure that all your connections, first, second, and third, can actually see your picture. And once you've uploaded your background picture, make sure it looks great as well. Not like this. Why would you do this, Philip? Why would you become headless on LinkedIn? Not a great idea. Or this. Why would you do this on LinkedIn? I have no idea. Or this, the invisible man. Why would you want to be invisible on LinkedIn? Again, I have no idea. CMAT here, for example, felt it'd be a really good idea to be the Titanic. I mean, why would you put a picture up like that? Literally looked like you were in the Titanic going down. And look at this one here. I mean, this person did not actually check the strapline, because if you read it, you understand why. Content marketing is like a first date. If you out yourself, there won't be a second one. Sure enough, absolutely ridiculous. Check your headline, check your banner. Can you read it on the laptop? Can you read it on the mobile? The future of ook is now. Really doesn't come across very professionally. Don't wait for opportunity. Again, just look at what it looks like before you put it up there and make sure you can read it on the laptop and the mobile. Do get 200% more clicks and keyed. Again, not professional. So don't do things like this. And if you're a keynote speaker, do not do this. Empty rooms, keynote speaking, not a good idea. You want to have it full and have it vibrant instead. Never ever do this. So many people do this, have no banner at all. A wasted opportunity for sales, a wasted opportunity for marketing. Don't do this either. And unless you work for the tourism board, do not do this. I go to Zurich quite a bit because we have lots of clients there, and they're obsessed with their mountains. They love their mountains. They love their mountains like we love our heat here in Singapore, but they love their mountains. They put mountains on the back of their banners. But the problem is that 1 million people in Zurich have it on their LinkedIn profile. So there's no personal differentiation, there's no personal branding there. And they basically, all they're doing is marketing Swiss tourism. And none of these guys work for Swiss tourism, so you can't do it. Here in Singapore, we have Marina Bay Sands. So our mountains are Marina Bay Sands. So Singapore Tourism Board thanks all these people for marketing Singapore. But the problem is 1 million people have got Singapore's Marina Bay Sands on their headline. Everyone thinks, oh, this is fantastic, it's unique. It's not unique at all. There's millions of people doing the same thing. Therefore, it shows nothing about your personal branding. Don't do it. Now, number 2 tip is your personal brand statement. Everyone's got one. Just do it as the Nike one, for example. So, Nike has that. Get rid of this. And then basically, let's get rid of this silly thing here. And Apple has Think Different, for example. So, these 2 strap lines. I have, for example, the only CEO with a mohawk. And that is all about, for example, making sure that people stand out as a result of it. Oh, I've just what's it gone? Okay, there it is. Basically, make sure that the Mohawk side of things stands out. So the only CEO with Mohawk, make sure it gets captured on a search, an SEO, for example. So it basically stands out. If you put Mohawk into LinkedIn, I come up, for example. I'm the #1 search, #2 search, #3 search. The top 100 searches are all basically me. Now, you want to use all 4 lines, for example, for these 220 characters for organic SEO. So what I mean by that is you have your 4 lines, 220 characters. So don't just be the default title of your last job. Don't just put one title in. Use all these words. So you'll see here, I've got 12 keywords in my headline. Mohawk, CEO, Mohawk again, founder, black marketing, LinkedIn, marketing, personal branding, LinkedIn again, recommendations, best-selling, LinkedIn again to make sure I pick up the SEO, Forbes. So all these are SEO, all these are organic SEO for LinkedIn. So you need to be filling out your 4 lines with your 220 characters and making sure it's full of keywords that you want to be found for to make it relevant. Now, you could use these the headline to catch automation messages, for example. Joseph here, for example, has beer there, which I love. Basically, it means that if someone automates, people will actually say dear beer or hi beer. And then you can disregard the automation person, block that person, report them to LinkedIn, because the automation is not allowed on LinkedIn. And it also doesn't work. For this very reason, Joseph will actually prove that. Now, if you're teetotal, you can always use a cup of coffee. So Kashif here is basically has a cup of coffee, so people actually write to him if you automate it by going, dear cup of coffee. Clearly, it's automated. Therefore, you can tell if someone's real and someone's not. But don't do this. This is far too many. There's drones going on, there's angles going on. It's just far too much. It's quite overwhelming amount of kind of symbols there and emojis. Now, your headline follows you everywhere on LinkedIn. That's why it's so important you get it right, and it describes you, your personal brand, your company, and what you can actually offer as well. So when you share, it comes up. When you get notified, it comes up. When you get on search, it comes up. When you go on people also viewed, it comes up. When you go recommendations, it comes up. So use it properly. Here's some examples. You can challenge people, for example. I love this from Mike Mackey here. The coolest guy in Nashville. Google it to see for yourself. So we did, and he is. He's the coolest guy in Nashville. Absolutely fantastic. And obviously he's selling SEO. So it's fantastic to be the coolest guy in Nashville and be #1 on Google at the same time. You can make specific promises, for example. So Diana here, for example, I help female accountants to win their ideal job in as little as 3 months with their $15,000 pay rise. That's so specific and so focused and so niche. It's fantastic. You know exactly what she can do for you. And if you're somebody out of this, she can't help you. Fantastic. I build sales funnels that actually work. I love it. I build sales funnels, says Mark. And Mark's even got a t-shirt that says ROI or die. Absolutely fantastic. You know what he can do for you. Now, you can be cheeky. I love what Simon did here, for example, flipping impossible problems on their heads. He has an upside down picture. Fantastic stuff. Original. Anthony here, freelance project manager at insert your company name here. Again, imaginative, interesting, compelling, quite witty as well. Your professional accreditations can be in as well. So you'll see people with all their ACCA accreditations on, or their MBAs and MSCCs, for example. But this might be taking it a bit too far. William seems to have all the alphabet, the numbers of the letters of the alphabet here. And I think it's probably a bit too much to put that many people on there, because not everyone will be impressed. So, for example, Ben here has got insert many letters. So obviously he's not a bit impressed people with letters. Now, if you're hiring, tell people you're hiring. We are hiring. If you're looking for a new job, tell people looking for a new job, looking for opportunities. Tell people. How do they know if you don't tell them? Don't do it too desperately there. Still looking. Still looking is not a great angle, but not as bad as this one here. I need a job. I need a job. Is anyone hiring? Oh my God, don't do this. You come across as far too desperate. Now you can use quotes as well. I like the fact that Geraldine here is using a nice quote, for example. Always part of your personal branding too. Now, don't do things like this. Here's Cindy here, lonely and young girl. Again, it's not Tinder. You've seen all these things, people coming through, and basically we tried to find her because she lives in Singapore to stop her being lonely and young. She's still out there being lonely and young. It's not very good. This is emoji hell, not emoji heaven. Don't use this many emojis on your LinkedIn. It's not Facebook. Human being. Elbert felt the need to put human being down on his LinkedIn profile. As this was some kind of like, so we do a search for on LinkedIn going, I need to find a human being. Dave K here, talking about Americans who can self-promote, executive demigod at Miracle Health. So, you know, you can go that far if you really want to. Don't do things like this. Shelley Shara, wife of Stephen Shara. Why would you put that on your LinkedIn profile, particularly as Stephen has not reciprocated? He has not got husband of Shelley Shara on his, and surely he should, because it's all about equal opportunity. So he should do that, just like Dale has had. Dale here has got spouse of owner at the Cosa Mexican restaurant in Hong Kong. So he has no standing by himself. It's just going out with somebody who owns a restaurant in Hong Kong. Lecturer retired and enjoying time with the family. Does he look like he's enjoying time with the family, or would rather be back at work? I think he'd rather be back at work. Now, number 3 tip is complete your profile. So many people don't complete their profile. So just do this, and it's part of the gamification of LinkedIn. The about section, the simplest part. Make it interesting. Tell a story. Don't just put keywords up there out of context. Don't put out-of-date things up there. Don't talk about your job. Talk about your journey. Talk about how you became where you are today, and make people go see more. And then you actually use the 2,000 characters to tell your story. You need to activate your featured section too. So many people do not activate their featured section, which is linked to the about section. So therefore, you have the featured section where you can highlight content every single day. And it's very much focused on people creating content. It supports the content, and it's absolutely fantastic. You can actually put in there new posts on a daily basis or weekly basis. We try to do at least daily. Most of our clients, we put in there at least weekly, for example, their biggest post of the week, for example. You can use it to use highlight, just a bit like you use the Straits Times or the Guardian, for example, has a headline. Yeah, your featured section is your headline. You are your editor of your newspaper, so use it on a daily basis. If you've got people coming to your profile, you want them to see something slightly different in the featured section every single day. So use it aggressively, use it proactively. But that means you have to use content and create content on a daily basis. You also should activate your creator mode. Most of the people on this call have not activated your creator mode. It's free. You do not need to be premium to be featured or activate your creator mode. So basically just go to your dashboard, you will see it, and then switch it on, because currently it is off. By switching on your creator mode, this is what happens. You put your hashtags up there. So I obviously talk about LinkedIn, personal branding, Singapore, for example. So I use those hashtags. It puts your followers up there as well. So it puts my 104,000, 105,000 followers up there, for example. But this is fundamentally changes the way your page is laid out, because it puts content first. So you'll see the difference here. Mine on the left-hand side with creator mode, on the right-hand side without creator mode. So you can see the about section goes down, because what LinkedIn found that you have to have an about section, but people don't like to read it. So that's why you have to make it interesting and compelling. So it moves the about section down, it moves the featured section up. So the featured section then is the first thing that is seen on your LinkedIn profile, and that's why it's so important to change the content on a regular basis. And the final thing that happens is you get 6 posts, not just the last 4 interactions. So on the right-hand side, you can see it's the last 4 interactions, which means if you like something or you comment, it can actually be the same post 4 times, whereas actually on mine is my last 6 posts. And obviously that again elevates my content. More people can see more of my content. If they come to one thing about my content, more of my profile, they will see other parts of my content too. So activate your creator mode. Activate your cover story. I don't think anyone on this call has got cover story when I look through your profiles. And that is where you will see someone who has an orange and red kind of picture there. And your picture then becomes a video. Yes, it comes to life, basically. It's like this, basically. So then you can see James, for example, Jane Jackson. Her video will then come to life and actually plays the entire video, 15 seconds. And you can see it on my profile, for example. I have cover story on, and I talk about 15 seconds, talk about very quickly about what black marketing does in terms of personal branding. So it really conveys your personal brand and your energy and your enthusiasm and kind of who you are in a quick 15-second video, for example. Now, you obviously want to update your experience. And that means basically on your cover, on your profile, whether you choose whether to show your education or not. Now, I choose not to. Now, I opt out of this because I went to a crap university in Newcastle in the north of England, which I'm not particularly proud of. I didn't get a degree, so it's not particularly. If I went to Stanford or Harvard, I'd probably put it up there, but I didn't, so I didn't. So that's why on my LinkedIn profile, I don't have education on there. So you can opt out of it if you really want to. So I want people to focus on my company. That's why my company is up there and not my education. Now you have to fill in your company page, for example. You have a few people on here have not got a company page. Create a company page. It's very easy to do. It takes about 2 minutes on LinkedIn to create one, and it's again completely free. And then what you need to do is put the about section consistent with the experience section. So you just copy and paste the about section into your experience section, and then it appears here. So you get total brand consistency, total communications consistency across your experience and your company page on LinkedIn. Then you want to add media. What I mean by media, your website. It can be where your books are sold, for example, if you have books. It could be your YouTube channel. It could be all these kind of things. But web links do not work. And a few people on here, when I look through your profiles, have tried to use web links in the experience section, and they do not work. You cannot click on a web link on LinkedIn unless it's inserted as media. So when you see this on LinkedIn, it doesn't work. You can't click on it. So if you see it in the about section, you see it in the experience section, you can't click on it. So it's pointless, because people are not going to copy and paste it and put it into the browser and do that, particularly not on the mobile. So don't do this instead. Add media. Put that same web link into the link section, in the experience section, on your LinkedIn profile, and then it comes up like this. It comes up as a nice visual, and then people can click on it. So I have my book there, for example, from Amazon and Apple and Spotify. I have my website there, I have my YouTube channel there, and people can click through to all these things, and visually it looks much more impressive than a web link which you can't actually use. Now, don't put down experience no company page. You must have a company page, otherwise it looks like this. And if you have a company page that looks like this, it looks like basically that your company's gone bust, it doesn't exist, it basically is not reputable, or basically there's something wrong with it, for example. You need to have a company page. And again, it takes 2 minutes to set up, it costs you nothing, put a little logo on there, tell people about what you do, and then attach it to your profile. It looks more like this. So you just look much more professional if you have a company page and it has a proper logo and it stands out on LinkedIn. It's just totally professional. What else do you do? Add these parts to your personal branding too. So I'm a best-selling author 4 times over, so I put that on my LinkedIn because I am on Amazon 4 times for 4 different books. I'm also on Apple Music. So again, I've got Apple Music on my experience section to increase my SEO, but also because I wanted to list the 4 books I have listed on their platform, for example. So I'm not claiming I work for them. I'm claiming I have 4 books on that, which I do. I'm also on Spotify. So I have the 4 books on Spotify, and I have the links there so people can go from my Spotify, go from my LinkedIn to my Spotify, or to your Spotify, sorry, and actually listen to my books. Same thing for Apple, same for Amazon. But I also lecture, for example, at NUS, so I put that on my LinkedIn. I contribute to the Business Times here in Singapore, so I put that on my LinkedIn because this is all part of my personal brand. And this also affects my SEO as well. So the more things you can put on your experience section, the greater your SEO, the greater your search results will actually be as a result of it. Now, most importantly, obviously, I love my recommendations. So I'm going to say recommendations. I've got nearly 1,900 recommendations, of which nearly 1,200 are actually on my LinkedIn profile itself, for example. Adding what your company does, very important. So you have providing services. Again, this is all free. You don't have to be a paid member to do this. This is all free. You have to apply to LinkedIn to basically get your services put up there, but it's very easy to do. If you need help, just reach out to me after this. But you've only put your services up there so people can see what you do. Now, what I mean by this is this. So, for example, you can see what Gavin does. You can't see what any of the other companies do, any other people do. So basically focus on basically getting across what you can do for other people. And there's many different places on LinkedIn as humanly possible. Show you're open to work as well. I open to work because I work for example, non-executive directors, advisory boards, non-profits. Put that there as well. If you're looking for a job, you can always go to the top one where you have that green open to work button on, for example, and you can choose who sees what as a result of it. So you're totally in control of what happens here. You can also remove people also viewed, which I would recommend. Otherwise, what happens is often your competitors come on the right-hand side. So you can see Anja here, for example. She's the CEO of this particular company, but she has her competitors on the right-hand side. So without it, it looks clean and focused. People focus on you. They don't focus on your competitors on the right-hand side. Now, number 4 tip is create a content marketing plan. Why? Well, social media is where people decide where to buy, and they're using content to decide. So in this survey, for example, what social media sites do you use to research services and products? Well, it won't surprise you to know that LinkedIn comes up top for posts by users of products, posts by companies, conversations with friends or colleagues on LinkedIn, and posts by thought leaders on LinkedIn itself. In fact, we go even further than that. Content is key to your personal and your company brand. You build trust in for your content. 89% of B2B decision makers said that high quality thought leadership elevates their perception of an organization's capability, as well as that trust in that organization, that keyword trust again. 59% of decision makers say that thought leadership is a more trustworthy way to assess capability than other marketing materials. Basically, what this is saying is people do no longer believe adverts, but they do believe thought leadership on LinkedIn because it's a trusted platform. So do more content, more thought leadership on LinkedIn to get across your brand, get across your personal brand and the trust that people can have in you, and then they will buy you as a result. How do you measure engagement on LinkedIn? People often ask me this. Well, LinkedIn is not used like TikTok or Facebook, so therefore it's the other way around. Basically, views will always be number 1, then likes, then comments. People comment less because people can obviously say, okay, my boss is on, my clients are on, my employees are on, my investors are on. I can't comment as much as I want to. I can't post like I want to. Therefore, comments are less. It's much harder to get comments on LinkedIn than other platforms, but you get no trolls on LinkedIn like you do other platforms. So views is number 1. Now, follow this strategy for maximum engagement on LinkedIn. 4-1-1. So 4-1-1 is one hard sell post. So you can't just talk about your company the whole time. You got to do one hard sell post and then give value. So a hard sell post. What is a hard sell post? Well, a hard sell post for me is talking about masterclasses like this. If I talked about why you should buy my masterclass, that's a hard sell post. If I talk about why you should not employ Muppets, you should employ black marketing to manage your LinkedIn, that's a hard sell post. So I combine that with a soft sell post. That's an industry post. So I talk about the industry. So if I write up on Forbes, where I write a column, and I talk about LinkedIn, for example, that's basically talking about the ecosystem, not directly black marketing. If I talk about only 1% of people actually post on LinkedIn, that again is talking about the ecosystem, it's talking about the platform, it's not directly marketing my company, black marketing, for example. And then you have to do 4 unrelated posts. Now, these have to be personal posts. There could be a personal post in terms of a personal story or a personal opinion on something that's going on in the world, but they can't be linked to your company. And this is what gives you value. This is what gives your followers value. And then you give permission to do the hard sell post. You have no permission to do the hard sell post if you have not given value with your unrelated posts. So these are very important. And these will be your best performing posts. And that's absolutely key. So for example, police humor. You know, Singapore is not known for its police humor, but I saw this sign a couple of years ago and I shared it. And it says, police humor, crime alert, The first rule of Fight Club is you'll get arrested. Just hilarious. 75,000 people actually agreed with me and actually basically went viral as a result of it. Simple, simple, simple things. Celebrate local entrepreneurs. I'm a big heavy metal fan, big Metallica fan. So I also supporting Ross here in Singapore's Heavy Metal HQ, which can now play music again, but only till 10:30. Only soft music as well, not loud music. So there, if you want to have the best soft heavy metal music in Singapore, you go to Singapore's Heavy Metal headquarters and you'll have a great time up till 10:30, of course, when we have our curfew here in Singapore. But that got 20,000 views because people also kind of supported that as well. Branding mismatches. I love it when this happens. I love it when you go to a restaurant and they serve a beer or a wine, or in this case, a champagne, Perrier Jouet, in the wrong glass, a Moet Chandon glass. And it's just hilarious, basically, because I actually asked the staff, do you realize that you're serving Perrier Jouet in Moet Chandon? And basically, they basically said, well, yes, we know that, but we haven't smashed all the Moet Chandon glasses yet. I'm going, oh my God. Well, the amount of money and branding that Perrier Jouet spend on this, you're basically sharing it in the wrong glass. So when people do their posts on LinkedIn or on Instagram, they're doing Moet Chandon glasses, but it's got Perrier Jouet champagne. It's just, oh dear. Celebrate hospitality staff. As people who follow me on LinkedIn will know, I have an office here at the Woo Bar at the W Hotel in Sentosa, and Rohit here is the manager. So effectively, he's my office manager. Effectively, he looks after me, looks after my guests when they come to the Woo Bar here in Singapore. So I celebrate that. Got an easy kind of 10,000 views. Noticing things of interest when I cycle, for example, Marina Bay Sands. Everyone's probably seen this at the OUE building. The first few hundred times I went past this gentleman, I thought he was real. Because he had the mask on and everything. It wasn't until I posted this and I realized that basically it was a model. And then other people said, actually, it's art, not just a model. There were security guards all over the place. So basically it's art. And then basically, so it's something as simple as that people can empathize with. It's a localized thing and it's original content as well. Now you want to join the 1% and actually post. Now people say, where do you source content from, Chris? That's a really important thing. It's like, I can't post anything because I don't want to post. Well, you can obviously post. The simplest way of doing it is to read the Straits Times or the FT or the Guardian or Channel News Asia or the BBC and actually create a story, put it on LinkedIn with an opinion. That's the simplest thing to do. You can also use Google Alerts. I use a lot of Google Alerts. So I use Google Alerts for things like personal branding, for Entrepreneur, for Singapore, for Metallica, little things like that, Armin van Buuren. So every time there's a story about any of these people anywhere in the world, I get a Google Alert on a daily basis. I then curate it. Is it worthy of my followers? Can I put an opinion on it? And then I put it onto my LinkedIn profile, for example, for content. But content truly is all around. Sounds like that Christmas song, isn't it? Love is all around. No, content is all around. It's like that film Love Actually, isn't it? Christmas is all around. Content is all around as well. Customer experience. Everywhere you go, customer experience. DBS, who's been in the news recently, which I find absolutely hilarious because they broke down their website, their app, didn't work for 3 days, but they are world #1 digital bank, because PS told us a couple of months ago they won an award for being the best bank in Asia, the best bank in the world, in fact. But they wouldn't let me change my address, my company address, online. So they are asking me to actually go to an office and then basically print out my kind of statement and then basically take it to a DBS, sign the thing, and then basically they would do it. And I said, why on earth can't I do this online? It's just a changing of address. That's just ridiculous. You're supposed to be the world #1 digital bank. And so this went viral on a Sunday, and about 9:30 that night, because not a single executive at DBS had answered my points. And by this stage, hundreds of people had piled in with their similar stories about how crap DBS was, for example. P.S. Gupta, who's the CEO of DBS, for example, came in and answered my post, which I was like, oh, okay, that's fantastic. P.S. Gupta actually reads LinkedIn. And P.S. Gupta has slightly more followers than me, has about 20,000 more followers than me, 120,000 followers. And he posts on a regular basis, but obviously he does use LinkedIn. But by the fact that he then came in, meant that basically people, as you will see, basically viewed it who wouldn't otherwise see it, because everyone who followed Piyush would then see the content. And that's what you really want. For something to go viral, you need other people to comment on your post that basically gets into their feed. And that's the simplest way to go viral. Now, mismatch pricing. I like having a go at Grab because Grab are a terrible company. But, they're worth $40 billion apparently, or maybe $40 trillion, something amazing now. But when Eva, for example, shared this post about how their pricing differed within 20 minutes difference of her house, she was basically making a point that basically it could be $10 or $27 or $38. It made no sense. It's got 300,000 views and 2,500 likes, for example. So customer experience really works on LinkedIn. Be spontaneous, unauthentic, even unauthentic. I actually find Sundays to be one of the best days to post because multinationals don't work on Sundays, but they're still checking LinkedIn out, and that's absolutely key. So, for example, when we could all fly in those distant days of kind of long gone eras when we fly, I was flying to Tokyo. And this happens. So basically, I walked into Tokyo Airport looking very, very innocent with a mohawk and tattoos, for example. And of course, I got called over randomly. Of course, I got randomly searched, and they basically started going through my books. They were going through these books, going, "Oh, where are the drugs and the guns?" They've been watching too many James Bond movies. They're going, "Where are the drugs and the guns? There's nothing. This book. This is just a book." And they even said to me at one point, "Is this me?" And I looked at them, really good 8-hour flight. I was, this is an hour later, and we're just trying to go to the hotel. I said, "How many other people with a mohawk have come here with 50 books and their own thing?" And they basically let me up. They let me go, and they basically, but not before I took a picture. And then they said, "Don't take pictures, sir." And then I shared it on LinkedIn. And then they said, "Don't put it on social media." So, too late, it's gone. And then it went viral because other people also had experiences of going through airports and being searched. So basically, it's a way to empathize, but also make a point as well. And it's quite good fun when I look back on it. It wasn't at the time. Tattoos at work. I'm a big tattoo fan. So I will always post about tattoos, for example. It's basically lifestyle. I pose a question on it. It's polarizing. People that love it or they hate it. Topical. Anything I write about Singapore Airlines will always get about 30,000 views, no matter what it is. People in Singapore are obsessed with their beautiful airline, and so they should be. It's a fantastic airline most of the time, apart from the call center, of course. Now, number 6, what content sharing strategy works? Well, simply, we've analyzed the data, we've analyzed it to death, and basically over the last year, since COVID happened, LinkedIn changed their algorithm. So LinkedIn became very localized. So you will now notice that local posts work much better than general posts or posts that go off into other directions. So number 4, there are basically 4 different ways of doing that, although I have number 2 twice. Personalize your content, localize your content, polarize your content, and empathize your content. So create content that polarizes, localizes, personalizes, and empathizes. So what I mean by that? Well, polarizing local brand is, of course, people like Grab, for example, love them or hate them, for example. I posted this, how many trillions of billions of dollars they've lost, but they're still worth $40 trillion, apparently. But that kind of thing will get a lot of views, 81,000 views. Other loss-making unicorns we have and we celebrate here in Singapore need to be called out, like Carousel. They lost $32 million, but they're probably worth $5 trillion, whatever it is. Again, something like 32,000 views. Topical subjects will always work. When Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, switched his Coke to his water, 54,000 views. People saying, "Yeah, it's fantastic." "Oh, no, he did a disservice to Coca-Cola as a result of it." Cyclists versus motorists, always a hot topic in Singapore. I can always put that up and I'll always get about 20,000 views of people agreeing, disagreeing. "Oh, no, cyclists are mean. No, motorists are mean." And you always have a fantastic debate going on. Celebrate great restaurants as well. I like the Como restaurant in Marina Bay Sands, for example, which is absolutely fantastic. And the key to it is very much this fantastic tunnel they have here. For example, you walk through, fantastic for photographs, for example. Where's my taxi? I live in Sentosa, for example, and often my taxi appears to be in the sea. So I often share this on LinkedIn because it's a bit of humor. And it gets over the point, basically, that you can meet me in the W in Sentosa at the same time, for example. Sunrises, also in Singapore, for example, in Sentosa, work phenomenally well. People always like to see sunrises, but I attach a little story to it, and that would always get 10,000 views too. Networking always works. Here we are in the Woo Bar in the office, for example, 10,000. And I have noticed if you network with a picture of Marina Bay Sands, it adds 10,000. So literally, if you can put Marina Bay Sands in any photograph on LinkedIn, it will add 10,000 views. So I've tested this several times. Yes, it does work. Inspiring stories as well. So this is me 13 years ago when I first came to Singapore, had a job, and then wrote a blog about taxi drivers, which you can still find. If you Google it, Chris Reed, taxi drivers, it still comes up. The wonders of Google. I appeared on the front page of the new paper, which is absolutely fantastic. I love the new paper. It's a fantastic newspaper. I think it's now digital only for some unknown reason. And they basically said, "Am I Singapore's most hated cab passenger? Thanks very much." And then I was on the TV and the radio. They did follow-ups, the whole thing, talking about the taxi driver situation in Singapore, because everyone knows Singapore taxi drivers are, in fact, the best taxi drivers in the whole of the world. They can find Marina Bay Sands. No, they can. But then I built up black marketing as well to it, because I got fired from my previous job. So then I had to basically build up my company. I basically then started from scratch, but I had name recognition. Everyone knew who I was. So I'd gone from being nobody to suddenly being on the front page newspapers. So everyone said, "Oh, you're Chris Reed. You're the guy who did Taxi Drive, that taxi story." And often I'd get expats saying to me, "I agree with you, but I can never say that because I get my EP cancelled." So luckily for me, I became a PR shortly afterwards because I don't think the ICA read LinkedIn, fortunately, or basically were aware of the furore about it. And then I used the opportunity to build the company of black marketing. And then I appeared on the Business Times, a much more respectable newspaper. I think it's the first and only time that they have a mohawk on the front page of the Business Times. But it talked about how basically LinkedIn was now a serious social network for business. So it's a fantastic, very positive story. And I went from villain to he got what? As I became a Singaporean citizen, for example, which is still one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life, not least to annoy hundreds of thousands of people who can't believe I became a Singaporean citizen. And I wrote the story, of course, about how I got fired for writing a blog about taxi drivers. And then 8 years later, I became a Singaporean citizen. And this basically went viral. It remains my biggest ever post, got 650,000 views. Mostly people going, huh? How on earth did he become a Singaporean citizen? But I did, so there you go. I love it. I love my beautiful passport. Now you can use other people's quotes as well. A lot of people like using Elon Musk. He's very cool and trendy. A lot of people use Steve Jobs. So if you're going to use a quote, use something original. Don't just do the same thing everybody else does. So basically pick an original quote and put it out there, which is a really good way of doing it. So number 7 tip, be authentic. Tell human, personal stories. They work the best, for example. Paul, for example, inspiring guy, works at Heineken. He basically got 21,000 likes and 2.5 million views because he announced on LinkedIn that he got married to his boyfriend. And so basically it's allowed in England, no, it's not allowed in Singapore, but it's allowed in England, and he put it up there because it's part of his personal branding. His personal branding is the fact that he basically married his lifetime partner. Absolutely fantastic. And people were very happy with him. He got a bit of abuse, but basically most people were very happy with him, most celebrated it as a result of it. Natasha here, for example, had 242 connections, which did this story in New Zealand. And she basically did the story about how she had a difficult journey. At 18 years old, she fell pregnant, for example, and she then studied and built her career up and had to cope with as a single mom. And then she qualified for diploma of construction and quantifying surveys. So people love this story because it was so innocent and it was obviously quite photogenic as well. And she got 288,000 likes, 80,000 comments, 28 million views as a result of it. And then her follower number went up from 200 to 31,000. Literally on one post. You don't need to have a lot of followers to have a lot of activity, a lot of engagement on LinkedIn. Bryn here, for example, 200 connections again. And the last post, no one cared, 22 likes. Nobody cared about this post. But then she did a post about being a cancer survivor, which is absolutely fantastic stories, inspiring, and obviously fantastic news and all the rest of it. And she got 600,000 likes, 60 million views as a result of it. People like authentic, empathetic stories. And everyone would have seen Lauren. So Lauren was very famous last year because she changed her profile picture. And basically she went from this one on the left to the one on the right. And she made the point that basically the one on the left was fake. It wasn't authentic, it wasn't her. And the one on the right was. You know, she was bedraggled, she had kids, she was working nonstop, she was doing Zoom left, right, and center. And she told the story about changing her LinkedIn profile. And that went completely viral. It was the Wall Street Journal, the FT, and the BBC, and all over the place. And people had debate, you know, what kind of photograph should you have on LinkedIn? A real one or a professional one, a fake one, effectively, in this case. But this post is the biggest post I've ever found. 800,000 likes, 80 million views, and 28,000 comments. Just phenomenal, because it's something authentic. People can identify with that. And their follower number went up from like a couple of thousand to 28,000 overnight as a result of it. Now you want to use hashtags on LinkedIn as well. And you want to basically test your content and follow the data. I'll give you an example. So for example, this Singapore National Day, I did a test. I did 5 posts, and none of them were business posts, but I did 5 posts on National Day, which obviously is a holiday, just to prove the point that people still use LinkedIn on holidays and weekends as well. So this is basically 5 posts. The 5th post was this fantastic picture of Lee Kuan Yew, which only got basically about 9,000 views, for example. This post here, for example, about the flag, got 36,000 views, for example. But then it started going up as they started putting me in the picture, for example. So this one got 39,000 views. And then basically, I think this one, obviously with my wife in it, got 51,000 views. And then this one here, for example, got 60,000 views as a result of it. So basically, it's all about using the content, for example, in a very positive way, and basically putting your personal branding out there, for example. And overall, it got about 200,000 views, for example, in one day on a public holiday too. And the 3 personal posts were clear. Were basically number 1, number 2, and number 3 were basically personal posts with a clear photograph. Because if you personalize your content, it'll be better than generic content, for example. Now, number 8 tip is be a leader. So there's another calculation you should use, which is 1-9-90. 1% of people create, 9% of people like, share, and comment, 9% of people do nothing, literally nothing. So 1% of people create on LinkedIn, 9% of people like, share, and comment, 90% of people do nothing at all, nothing but view. Now you need the views, but basically the key is the creation of the content itself. Now you want to personalize, localize, polarize, and emphasize. Polarize, for example, hot local topics. So everyone would have seen this one from this year, for example, the British guy who refused to wear the mask on the MRT. So I shared this very, very polarizing post, one of my most polarizing ever, apart from me becoming Singaporean. nearly 400,000 views. And I got basically two sides of it. I got British people saying, no, we're British, we're allowed to do anything we want. And I'm going, no, you're not. So you're different from somebody else's country. You have to abide by their rules. And going, no, you're being racist by saying he's British. But he is British. That's why I said he's British. And then I got Singaporeans who said, that's fantastic post. I totally support you. That's fantastic. And they also said, I couldn't do that post because if they did the post, it would be seen as racist, even though I also got called racist, even though I'm obviously the same color as this young gentleman here. So that's a polarizing post. I think I blocked more people for abuse on that post than ever before because people just couldn't take it. And it's a real story and it's all very authentic, very polarizing. But then I saw that obviously this kind of post obviously works. So I followed it up with this post, which got 310,000 views, but more British people who basically like to break COVID conventions because they, again, don't believe the rules apply to them in different countries. So that's always a good one to go down because Singaporeans love the fact that basically I'm having a go at them because I used to be British. I'm obviously no longer British because I had to renounce my British passport. So I'm Singaporean now, so I'm on the side of Singapore. And basically saying, well, we all have to wear masks, so why shouldn't these guys have to wear masks? But you get a lot of Americans and you get a lot of British people saying, no, we are British, and therefore we can do what we want. So no, you can't. So out the country, basically, can't work here ever again. More jobs than people in Singapore. It's always a hot topic. Is basically talking about a situation where we actually have more jobs in Singapore than people to fill it. Defending Singapore, for example, when these guys, for example, did a post to BBC, and they said, oh, we can't live in Singapore anymore, there's no benefits. They forgot to mention the fact that basically they want EPs because they refused to become PRs, and they have two boys. And they didn't want their boys to national service. So I did a post about how they actually were escaping national service and they didn't deserve to have the same benefits as PRs and Singaporeans because we have our sons doing national service. And so if they want the same benefits, they need to do the same thing. So that's always a good post to do. COVID-related thought leadership is always a good one as well. I went to Zurich in September, October time. And at the same time, I was enjoying no masks, no social distancing and having a great time. And Singapore decided to lock down again and have only 2 people out and dining and things like that, which made no sense. So I did a post about it, went completely viral, 122,000 views, followed up the next day with another one about, because I got lots of criticism saying, no, but death is terrible. I'm going, well, death is real. Death is part of life. So again, followed it up. So often a series of posts can work quite well. This one here, for example, when I came back and talked about how people in Europe are having stadiums full of hundreds of thousands of people, no one's getting COVID. Then basically here we can't even take our your family out for dinner, for example. Hence the empty restaurants, for example, always a hot topic in Singapore. And again, talking about the business opportunity basis being missed because people can't network, can't intermingle, for example, and that's costing it. Again, empathetic, polarizing, localizing, following these rules work. Controversial topical events, for example, everyone remembers the Bloomberg event that basically when the minister tried to defend the fact that Bloomberg event people could network and mingle and intermingle, and we couldn't because Bloomberg people are special people. And that obviously worked very well because that was empathizing, it was polarizing, it was also localizing, and people basically agreed with it mostly, and they got about 115,000 views across 2 days, and on related stories to it as well. Traveling again, obviously was a good post about how basically I was on a plane with nobody else on it, going to Europe, for example, talking about having Singaporean food, for example, in Zurich, for example, talking about how ridiculous the VTLs are, for example, and talking about, obviously, I like talking about Singapore passport because it is the most powerful in the world, and that always is basically a good post to do. It's topical, it's localizing, and it's also slightly polarizing, but it's also empathizing as well with my fellow Singaporeans. My son in Munich, for example, anything like that, family pictures work very well on LinkedIn in a context. So people want to see people. People like to see people on LinkedIn. It's personal. Hot HR topics. You do a post with Elon Musk is also completely polarizing, and that will get easily 100,000 views each time, for example. So if you polarize, localize, polarize, and personalize and empathize, they're the key to success on LinkedIn. Localized post, for example. This one, just taking a simple photograph of this shop, which says, we buy junk and sell antiques. Some fools buy, some fools sell. I love it. But something as simple as that, people go, yeah, I love that shop. That's a fantastic shop. Amazing. Got 90,000 views, 1,000 likes because people like it. It's not trying to sell anything. It's basically trying to engage. And it's just trying to make someone's life, someone go smile and then move on to something else. Because your posts on LinkedIn are not Shakespeare. They're just to be enjoyed for a few seconds or minutes, get people thinking and move on to something else. And that's the way you need to approach it. Personalize, localize, polarize, and empathize. Talk about this Vietnamese hawker, for example, who basically was getting lots of abuse because of the way she dresses. Obviously, I'm going to defend anyone who basically dresses the way they want to. And the fact that she's actually a hawker, basically being an entrepreneur, will instantly get my attention and the support from other people as well. So 75,000 people looked at it. Not everyone agreed with me. And then again, it's a good way to do it. So it was localized, it was polarized, it was empathetic, but it was also personal as well, because I'm an entrepreneur, I support other entrepreneurs. But never ever reshare content, for example. So what I mean by reshare is on the button of LinkedIn, when it says share, don't do that, because LinkedIn kills that post. Because LinkedIn says it's already been shared once. We don't want to see it again, basically, and you make no effort about it. It's not an original post. No one will see it. You can see this over in thousands of posts. No one sees reshared posts, particularly for the company page. Never ever reshare content from your company page, because it does not work. It fundamentally does not work, because of the same reason. Basically, LinkedIn says, well, it's already been shared once. We're not going to show it again, because also company content doesn't get seen anyway, so it's slightly pointless. So never ever reshare content, for example. LinkedIn likes authentic content. So this is the first to the eighth in terms of ranking, in terms of the content. Number one, pictures of you with an original story. Number two, curated content like Straits Times or The Guardian with an opinion. Number three, personal story with a video. Number four, personal story with a graphic. Number five, curated video with a story. Number six, company content shared directly. And then don't do the reshare. Don't do 7 and 8. So focus on original, authentic content. Now, before the final two tips, I'm going to have a look at some of your profiles, give you some executive feedback, because lots of you are basically having similar problems in terms of similar things and similar things with your profiles. So Jennifer, who highlighted this call at the top, I thank Jennifer very much for inviting me, but you have a terrible LinkedIn profile, Jennifer, which you need to sort out straight away. So the banner, Jennifer will see straight away, you have no basically banner, you're not using the 4 lines, you have no about section, no creator mode section, and no featured section. 4 recommendations, which is better than nothing, for example, but obviously could be higher because they only had 1 from the last 6 years, for example. And as I told Jennifer before this call, group posts don't work. Groups don't work on LinkedIn. LinkedIn killed off groups many, many years ago, so don't do group posts on LinkedIn. There's no original content sharing, which you should do. Now, Marlene from Zurich, lovely banner, governance as a mindset, really, really nice. And she's used some nice keywords there as well, so fantastic. But the featured section activated, but not updated. So what I mean by that is its featured section's on, but the last post was 8 months ago. Now, the whole point of the featured section is to make sure you basically highlight the latest content on a regular basis, every week, every month, at least every week. No creator mode, no recommendations. Basically, don't reshare company content. This is what I mean by resharing content. This doesn't work. Don't do it. Do an original post. That works. Stephen here, basically lovely picture of Shanghai, but it's not talking about what your personal brand is or about the executive center. So basically, just a picture of Shanghai. This doesn't make any sense. So use a picture of the executive center or yourself at the executive center, Stephen, and do it that way around instead. Featured section should be updated weekly, as I mentioned. Do not just use it once and leave it there. Your featured section is like a headline in a newspaper. Use it to activate and promote your content. And don't reshare. Again, this is a reshare. Do not reshare content on your company page. No recommendations. Tom here. Tom has a kind of interesting background, which I don't understand. And obviously on a mobile, you can't really see what it is. So I have no idea what it does. Also, Tom basically hasn't really used his headline, and he also basically hasn't got a company page set up as well. Very, very sparse about section, no featured section, no company page. So you can see this because the gray box basically says there's no logo, it's not attached to a company page. I couldn't find a company page when I looked, so you need to have a company page there, for example. Only 1 recommendation, so you need to have more recommendations. No introduction to the content, just put the content up there. You need to introduce the content so it looks like this was basically maybe automated because it has no introduction to that content. You have to introduce the content, otherwise like this post, no one basically cared, got 1 like, so nobody cared about it. Patsy here. Again, very generic background. Don't use this. And her profile picture is also black on black, which is not particularly great, particularly on mobile, for example. No featured section or creator mode section, for example, no recommendations. And again, don't reshare content like this. Martin here has a fantastic background. I do like that banner, very, very cool. I wouldn't personally use a black and white picture because LinkedIn is a very colorful area, but you have some nice keywords there, which is great. And this is a perfect way of doing the kind of experience section. Lots of nice links in there, description of what FinTrail does and what he does at FinTrail, which is great. But unfortunately, the featured section not updated with latest content. It just has 1 link in there. It should have the latest content every single day or every single week. Content. And unfortunately, no recommendations as well. But you do have content going out, just can be doomed with a bit more personalization. Ninja here, for example, has a nice picture of the executive center. So at least that's better than nothing, which is fantastic, but not enough description about the executive center on the headline. No featured section or creator mode, for example, but you do have a description about what the Executive Center does, which is great. And you do have a link to the memberships, which is absolutely fantastic as well. 5 recommendations, you could do with more of that, one from the last 6 years. Again, don't reshare content like this. Do an original post. Do not reshare content. Kenneth here, lovely picture of Singapore. Again, don't do a picture of Singapore. Do something relevant to you, Kenneth. Putting about city or about you, or about your personal brand, not just a picture of Singapore, for example. Because as you can see, you've actually put your picture over Marina Bay Sands. So basically, you've got a picture of DBS and Standard Chartered, which I'm sure you didn't intend to do because you work for Citibank. So I'm sure Citibank is probably there somewhere. Oh, yes, the right-hand side. But even so, I wouldn't use a picture of Singapore there. But you do have some nice keywords there, which is fantastic, like family office and so forth. You've got the providing services, which is great because nobody else has that I could find. But you don't describe what you do, for example, which you could do. Your feature section is updated though, which is fantastic. You have 3 recommendations and you do share content and it's personalized content as well. So that's fantastic. Well done for getting the booster shot this morning and doing the post about it as well. So fantastic stuff. Gwendolyn here, for example, no banner, no picture, marketing the Executive Center, for example, and no description about the Executive Center, the keywords, the headline. No description on the experience section, no recommendations. And when you did post, like this one here, got 100 likes, but you've done 1 post which had this over the last kind of 6 months. If you need to do it more often. John here has generic background, which has nothing to do with his company. You have the default travel and capital management, which is linked to your experience. You should be using the 4 lines, John. You have no company page that I could find. So you need a company page there. Creator mode is activated, but no hashtags are used. Feature section activated, but not updated, because this post here, for example, the left-hand side was done 5 months ago. Ideally, you should do it at least once a week, John, or if not, then at least kind of once a month. No company page, like I said, which is why the logo doesn't come up, comes up as a gray box. Again, very easy to set up a company page on LinkedIn, John. And then recommendations, basically got 1 in 2018, 1 in 2015. So you're not doing updated recommendations, which are key on LinkedIn, but you are posting on a regular basis, which is fantastic. Yvonne here, for example, no banner, no description. So she's missing a trick to market the executive section, no bat section, no features, no creator modes. And no description as well, no recommendations as well, and reshared content doesn't work. And it's for 3 months ago, doesn't work. Edith here, for example, nice banner there, because then it says, what exactly you do, Hong Kong, Sri Lanka, Singapore, and then you've got, in fact, your blockchain, which is brilliant, but unfortunately, no creator mode, featured section, no updated content, only links. So what I mean by this photograph here on the left-hand side doesn't go anywhere. So it's just a picture of you, which is fantastic, it doesn't go anywhere at all. So ideally, try and use web links there. Try and use content on a regular basis. Don't do web links like this because this doesn't work. I can't click on this. It's literally impossible to click on this. I have to copy and paste it, put it into a browser, which no one's going to do, particularly on the mobile. So put it into the media, as I showed you earlier in the presentation. Only 1 recommendation. And the content, you do share content, but it could be more personalized. For example, Kelly here, for example, no banner, no about section, creator mode, featured section, no recommendations. And the last post was 6 months ago. So you got to do more content, Kelly. I like this from Ian. Comes across very authoritative in the banner, for example, and nice keywords as well, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, no creator mode. Feature is activated but not updated. So basically you post, but the last post was 10 months ago, which is not a great idea. No recommendations. And your last actual post, which is continuous, is 8 months ago. So you need to do more content in on a regular basis. Hadian, for example, has a picture of, I don't know what that is. Maybe is it a Jakarta? But whatever it is, basically the fact that I don't know what it is doesn't really enhance your personal brand or your company. So put something relevant to you up on there on the banner. No creator mode or featured section. Don't list, tell a story. So never do this in your about section. People just look at this and go, what do you mean? What's revenue growth? What do you mean by product market fit? You have to tell a story. Why is it relevant? What's the context of this being relevant? Don't use web links as they can't be clicked on as well. Add to the media instead. So don't use a web link like this, for example. 30 recommendations, which is not bad. Don't reshare content from the company page, which is what this is here. Do original content direct to your feed on LinkedIn. Carol here, I like the background picture, but unfortunately the company page doesn't exist. No creator mode or featured section, no company page. And you can see here it comes up. So immediately it's a red flag. So create a company page. Again, very, very simple to do. Takes a couple of minutes to actually do. 11 recommendations, which isn't bad. And you post on a regular basis every week. And see, no background picture, no keywords in your headline, no creator mode. Featured content is from 2008. So basically, this is a long, long time ago. So featured section really needs to be updated to be kind of this week's content or this year's content. It'd be absolutely fantastic. No recommendations. And again, if you reshare from the company page or from somebody else, don't do this as well. Sam here, very good, strong personal branding here. Sam Johnson, samjohnson.org. And you got, I like the way you've got technologist, futurist, founder, advisor, and you have got creator mode on, as you can see, which is very impressive. But the featured section activated has not got new content since 2016. So this video here is fantastic, but it was from 2016. So update your content, because you do post content. So do it on a regular person, and do first person, not the third person, Sam. Recommendation 2015 and 2012, so you need more recommendations, and you do update content on a regular basis. So feed the featured section with your content, Sam. Number 9, market your company through you and people by people, because this is what LinkedIn is all about. So if I show you LinkedIn's company page on LinkedIn, it only has 15 million followers. Now you have to consider yourself, that means that only 3% of people on LinkedIn follow LinkedIn on LinkedIn. And if LinkedIn can't get to follow LinkedIn on LinkedIn, then you and I have got no chance with our company page. So it's not about the company page, it's about you. It's about the CEO, the founder, the executive, the leader. Microsoft have almost 40 million followers, for example. Bear in mind, Microsoft own LinkedIn. And that means only 2% of LinkedIn users follow Microsoft on LinkedIn, even though they own LinkedIn. So you can see some of their posts. Some of their posts get 1 like. So you have to consider yourself. You've got 14 million followers, and some of your posts get 1 like. You got a bit of a problem. Your company page's posts do not work. When it does work, it's Satya Nadella. He has 9 million followers. When he posts, people view it. This post got 30 million views. Look at the difference. 30,000 likes comparative to 1 like on the company page. It's not rocket science here. Just follow the data. When Satya talks about Microsoft, people listen. When Microsoft talks about Microsoft, no one listens. So follow the leader, basically. Bill Gates, another one, 32 million followers, for example, when he posts. This one got 40 million views, for example. People follow people on LinkedIn. They don't follow company pages. Richard Branson, 20 million followers, for example, when he posts about Virgin Atlantic and he talks about them, people listen. His company page on LinkedIn's only got 300,000 followers. So people follow people on LinkedIn. They don't follow company, company page posts is reasonable, but it's not fantastic comparative to when Richard actually talks about Virgin. So when Virgin talks about Virgin Atlantic, people listen. For example, not when Virgin talk about Virgin. It's all about people. It's all about the CEO and the founder. When Michael Dell, for example, got 1.7 million followers, when he talks about Dell or he talks about his personal journey, people listen. When Dell, for example, had got 3.6 million followers talk about Dell, this is what happens. No likes, no comments. Nobody cared about this post. And it's got 4 million followers. So company pages do not work. CEOs work, founders work. Focus on your personal page, not your company page. Abandon your company page and focus on your page, because that's where the data is on LinkedIn, people by people. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And that is the 10th tip, and that's all about Sales Navigator. Unfortunately, that would take another hour. We don't have time for that. So basically, if you want to know more about social selling and using Sales Navigator, we can have an offline conversation at the Woo Bar in Sentosa or some other place on Zoom, for example. So in summary, it's all about you and your personal branding. It's about your content marketing. It's about your company marketing through your profile. It's about social selling through your LinkedIn profile. And if you don't have the time, expertise, and experience, we can do all of this for you, because we have Black Marketing. Black Marketing is my company, and it's the world's #1 LinkedIn marketing and personal branding company. We've been going now for nearly 10 years, and I personally have nearly 1,900 LinkedIn recommendations, which you can check out to your heart's content, which is more than anyone else in the entire world, by about 1,500. We were established in 2013, and we have Singaporean clients, we have local clients, we have regional clients, we have global clients, we have all kinds of clients all over the world, because it's LinkedIn. So we can find clients anywhere, which is absolutely fantastic. We will enhance your personal brand on LinkedIn. We'll manage your LinkedIn profile daily, create a personalized connection plan for you, implement a personalized content plan. So we will write the content and we'll post it and we'll answer the comments as well. And we'll create a social selling plan to find you new clients, find you new investors, find you new members, and find you new employees. Mostly find you new clients. So if you want to find clients, we can do that for you through social selling and content marketing on LinkedIn. If you want more tips, you can read my Forbes page, because I write lots of articles on Forbes. And you can also read my 4 best-selling books about how to use LinkedIn, how to do social selling, and how to master personal branding. You can listen to them if you don't want to read them on Spotify, on Apple Music, on Amazon or Audible. You can also read them on Amazon and also on Apple Music and a hardback or a paperback. And you can also watch more of my talks on my YouTube channel as well. And if you enjoyed this mini masterclass, please do recommend me. Unfortunately, because I have so many LinkedIn recommendations, I actually broke the laptop version. So you can only recommend me on the mobile. So just go to the mobile, do the drop-down menu, and you can actually recommend me. And I'd be much appreciated to do this, because I love my recommendations, as you can tell. So thank you very much for listening. Now I will take questions.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that presentation. It was a lot of content to cover during the session, but you did offer 10 really good tips, and I definitely will be incorporating some of this into my LinkedIn. Now, we are open to the Q&A session. So for those in the audience, if you have a question, please click on the Q&A icon and type in your question there, and then we will ask Chris the question. In the meantime, we do have two questions that have come up. The first question we have is about extroverts and introverts. Do you see a difference in terms of how they use LinkedIn?
Basically, I mean, everyone has to use LinkedIn, first of all. So we have half our clients are introverts, and they come to us because they know they have to post on LinkedIn. Because they don't post, they will miss out on opportunities. So you have to basically just get over yourself on LinkedIn and see it as a business platform. You don't have to share things you don't want to share. We have clients who don't want to share any personal stuff at all. We have clients who want to do lots of personal stuff, and lots of clients who do the middle. So you have to really see LinkedIn as a way to convey your personal brand and just see it as business. It's just like going down to a networking event or going to an event or meeting somebody. Basically, all you're doing is sharing things about yourself to basically convey to somebody else, create a relationship and create trust. And that's all you're doing. So basically, you just view it in a slightly different way. We have many, many introverts on LinkedIn, and they often produce the best content.
Okay, thank you so much for that. We have additional questions. The first one is asking if you are at the Woo Bar at W. And the second one is, I have seen many headlines that are meant to intrigue interest, such as, when I was a kid, I got the world record for XXX. Does this work?
It's spammy. I don't like it because it comes across as inauthentic. It's better if you tell an authentic story. But yeah, no, there's people out there who do that, the Bridget and the Olevs of this world, and it's very effective. But I think it attracts the wrong kind of people. I'd rather have a debate and have thought leadership out there and be authentic than have spammy headlines. Spammy headlines don't work because you get spammy people following spammy headlines. So I wouldn't do that if I were you. I'd tell authentic stories. It's much more effective.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much. And then some other questions I have on my side is the use of hashtags. So how do those work when you are putting up content posts, and do they actually work?
Yes, they do work. So on creator mode, you get 5 hashtags. So that's why I'm saying to everybody, get creator mode, because then your hashtags come up. So my hashtags on creator mode is Mohawk, because that's obviously what I talk about a lot, and also how I identify myself, Singapore, Black marketing, personal branding, and LinkedIn marketing. So it's all about basically using those hashtags in your content. And then when people search for them, it comes up. So if you search on the hashtag Mohawk, for example, the top 100 things that come up are all my posts. So LinkedIn does work, and it's organic. It's not a paid for platform like Facebook, for example. So if you use the right hashtags, it does work. But obviously, be prepared to use original hashtags and not hashtags that everybody else is using, like innovation or LinkedIn, because millions of people use that. So it's all about using the right kind of hashtags to make you stand out.
Okay, got it. So if I were to just use the hashtags in my regular post, not in the creator mode, would I still pick up traction? And and to build on to that, you said to use unique hashtags, but I think perhaps for some other social media platforms, such as Instagram, let's say, you would probably want to use a hashtag that is more popular because that's what people would click on to look at posts. So how would that kind of compare when you're on LinkedIn?
You could do that, but the problem is, for example, if you do a search on hashtag LinkedIn, there are millions of posts. And yes, I'm in there as well, but there are a million other people as well. So basically, it's better for me to be then hammer home, for example, Sentosa or Woobar or Mohawk, for example, because other people don't use that. So then if you do a search on these, or you basically, that comes up in a search, for example, or you think, oh, I'm going to search for that, and then basically it comes up. So basically you have to cover both. Well, I cover both by having hashtag personal branding, hashtag LinkedIn, but I also have hashtag Singapore, hashtag Sentosa, hashtag Mohawk as well to get both bases. So you're partly right, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, great. Thank you. And then another question we have is, so on LinkedIn, the platform itself, they do offer some services that you need to pay for, such as the premium service. Would these be something you recommend, or if someone was on a budget, what are some alternatives?
We recommend you use Sales Navigator Team, and it's only Sales Navigator Team, not Sales Navigator Pro not LinkedIn Premium, not Recruiter Lite. So the only one we recommend is Sales Navigator Team, because it has the most amount of optimization, most amount of usability, most amount of user interactions, most amount of things you can do. And it's very similar cost to the basic premium. But Sales Navigator Team is one we have all our clients on. I use it personally. And I use all the platforms, and I know that Sales Navigator Team is by far more effective than Recruiter or the basic premium. So Sales Navigator Team is just fantastic. If you want to know more about that, you can contact me indirectly, and then basically I can talk you through how to use Sales Navigator Team. But it's worth it. I mean, it's worth it mainly for people who want to find clients or investors. So basically, it's all about finding people who view your profile, who view your content, and you simply can't do that if you're not premium on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn limits you in terms of what you can see and who you can see if you're not premium, because obviously it's a freemium model. So they want people to upgrade to the Sales Navigator. So Sales Navigator Team is the one to use.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you so much. And we have another question from the audience. Is there a good ratio of views to followers that you want to look for as you're ramping up activity outside of the ones going viral?
That's a good question. It's not really about that scenario. As I've showed you some of the examples, it's not about how many followers you have, because if your content's fantastic, it'll go viral. So it's all about basically your content. So you have to focus on your content, not how many followers you get, because the follower question isn't really relevant, because basically I've seen people having millions of followers and getting very little engagement because their content's crap. So it's all about having the content, the best content, the most engaging content, personalized content, polarizing content, empathizing content, and localized content works. And that's what really, really creates engagement. And that's what you really want. And also LinkedIn's about quality, not quantity. I'd rather have a debate with 10 people on one of my posts, and basically it's a good debate going on with different opinions, and it's getting great followers and getting great traction because other people are entertained by it. Other people have thought, think this is a good, to and fro. And that's better than having thousands of people, like and comment it, for example, because it's irrelevant if they're basically not adding to the conversation or the debate. So it's all LinkedIn's about quality, not about quantity, because it can't compete quantity-wise with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and WeChat and things like that. It just can't. It's not going after the mass market. It's going after the professional market, which by its very nature is less.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And the person that asked the question said, great answer and fully agree. Thank you, Chris. And do we have any more questions from the audience? If you have a question, please feel free to type it into the chat box or put it into the Q&A section. I have another question on my side. So for those that perhaps are new to LinkedIn or may not be that active on LinkedIn, one of the things you mentioned is getting in quality connections. So someone, of course, wants to build their network. So where do they start? Any suggestions for that?
That's a great question. And LinkedIn actually now limit the amount of connections you can do to 20 a day. So basically be aware that you can't just spam people anymore. So basically it's all about content. Basically by having great content, people will then follow you. By having great content, people will then connect with you, and you can choose whether you accept them or try and convince them to follow you. By switching your creator mode on, it switches your whole page to follow. So that way you build your followers, which are unlimited, whereas your connections only have 30,000. Now, 30,000 might sound like a lot, but I passed 30,000 about 10 years ago. So it's all about creating your followers, because your followers can see your content. And then your connections should be people you want to network with, and you want their connections to network with. So try and connect with people who engage with you, who are active on LinkedIn, who comment on your content, because that way they will then comment on your other content. They're active, they're live, they're engaging with you. So you want active followers and active content people and connections. You do not want followers for the sake of followers. It's just a vanity index. Again, focus on quality and not quantity. I'd rather have 30,000 people who basically engage with me on LinkedIn than 30,000 people, than 500,000 people who basically liked something because they were just doing it. So it's all about quality on LinkedIn. So choose people who engage with you, and that way they're more likely to actually respond, because it's all about numbers as well. Because if you have too many people who say, I don't know with you on LinkedIn, LinkedIn then stops you connecting and puts what we call LinkedIn jail, where you have to put your email address in. So it's all about basically managing that, withdrawing connections, and making sure that when you send a connection out to people, they accept it within 7 days, otherwise you withdraw it, and make sure you have a limited amount of connections already in the marketplace, so LinkedIn can't then restrict you. So it's all about, again, gamifying LinkedIn, but managing and being reasonable about the connections.
Okay, thank you. And we have another question from the audience. So for those that have registered for today's session, I will send a follow-up email with Chris's contact information. The attendee is also asking, how does it actually work for an individual? Today you explained principles, but how does Black marketing assist with execution, and how long does it take?
Basically, we manage individuals' accounts. We manage executives, founders. They can be people looking for a job. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. Basically, if you can afford our services, we will manage your profile. You get a team of about 10 people on your account. You get writers, you get social sellers, personal branders, an account team, and you get me, obviously, managing the whole process from above, and basically making sure that we're managing your profile, making you a LinkedIn rockstar to achieve your goals. If it's finding a new job, if it's starting a business, if it's finding clients for that particular business, if it's getting headhunted, if it's moving country, if it's just becoming a thought leader and standing out in your own company. You know, we basically do all that for you. We have a starter kit, which we send you, you fill it in. We have a onboarding session with myself and the team through the starter kit, and then we're off and running. Within 7 days, we change your profile. Obviously, you approve it. We change your content, post content, you approve it. We start connecting or sending messages out to people who might basically engage and might become clients or investors or potential employers. And basically, you approve everything. We're just doing all the work, because what we find is that 9 times out of 10, people just don't have the time to do it themselves.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. And then in terms of what Black marketing could assist with, so let's say if I had a goal in mind of how many followers I actually wanted, is that something you can assist with?
Oh yeah, no, totally. That again is through content. So the best way of getting your follower numbers up is content. So if you have your content go viral because it's quality content, people then start suggesting you, LinkedIn starts suggesting you, that's the best way of getting your follower numbers up. So yes.
Okay. And just so I can get a sense of the timeline, if I was looking for, let's say, 10,000 followers and I only have maybe 100 right now, can you tell me how much content and how long I have to post for to, let's say, reach 10,000 followers?
So that's a bit like how long's a piece of string? As I showed the 4 examples I showed you, a couple of those people had a couple of 100 connections and their post went viral and suddenly they had 40,000. So if your post goes viral, it's the best way of adding followers. It really is. So we can't determine whether your post will go viral or not, because obviously if it basically that was it determinable, it'd be easy to do what we do. We have to basically test. We A/B test content. We A/B test scripts. A/B test your profile. And basically depends on your content. Depends how personal you're willing to be in your content, how polarizing, how emphasizing, how localizing as well, and whether you're basically got a fantastic story to tell. And obviously, we basically find stories within you, and that's what we love introverts, and we bring out the stories and then they see the benefits. They go, oh, this is fantastic. You know, even though I'm introverted, I've shared something relevant with people, and that's the easiest way to get the follower numbers up. Is content, content, content. So you can go to 110,000 in a year, but it could take you 5 years. It could take you 6 months. It all depends on your content.
Okay, got it. Okay. And now we have another question that is asking about, in reference to polarizing, how would you view LinkedIn's erratic editorial policy where colloquialisms are sometimes used as a basis for blocking your post, such as quoting Shakespeare, where he's referred as, quote, an idiot, and LinkedIn's policy, which seems a bit arbitrary?
Oh, totally. It's ridiculous. The other day, LinkedIn removed one of my posts that I posted a month ago because basically it'd been going viral for a month, and then basically someone must have complained about it, and all I was doing was sharing the Straits Times story about people in Singapore, basically everyone who died of COVID, basically were people who were old and were going to die anyway. And I pointed this out, I did a story about it, went viral. And then obviously someone objected to it. LinkedIn then said, no, it breaks our COVID regulations. We've now removed the story. Going, well, it's a bit late because about 20,000 people have already seen it. So it's completely arbitrary. I mean, if you call someone an idiot, apparently that's really, really bad, and you get removed or you get your comment removed, but you can do much worse things and not be removed at all. I mean, I get spam left, right, and center, and basically you get fake profiles, and then you report that to LinkedIn, and they don't see it as being dangerous, and they take any action at all. So yeah, they're completely, I mean, I have no idea how they make those decisions because it's completely arbitrary, and the AI must be very confusing. But I mean, the best thing to do is just focus on the quality of your content, keep within the boundaries of basically what you think is going to be acceptable, and then just basically focus on that rather than kind of worry about whether LinkedIn are going to ban it or not.
Okay, thank you for that. So then if LinkedIn has all of these things in place, should one avoid engaging on sensitive topics such as the vaccination debate? Should we avoid these sensitive topics?
Not at all. What LinkedIn objects to is basically people putting out kind of the misinformation. So LinkedIn actually is much better than, say, Facebook on this. And they basically put out misinformation and someone reports it, then you obviously can get that blocked, and its AI would pick it up, or you can report it, people can report it, and then it gets taken out. So as long as you're reasonable in your arguments and you can stack up your arguments and you're basically using authoritative studies and research and so forth, especially if you're quoting from or you're using something like the Straits Times or the BBC or the Guardian, which is a trusted source. And I've noticed this on LinkedIn. If you go to a not trusted source and share a content, then you're asking for trouble. So you have to basically go to trusted sources, like the Financial Times, for example, and basically share that story, then comment on that. As long as your comments basically stack up, and you're not getting basically too much pushback. But it just takes one person to basically report you or report the post, and then LinkedIn look at it, and then basically they can ban the post. Basically, they can take down the post. And how that happens is entirely up to that particular team of people, wherever they might be in the world. So that's when it's arbitrary. But if you're putting across good points, they can't do anything about it, basically.
Okay, fantastic. Right now, we have a couple, well, right now it's 5 p.m. So we're going to wrap up the session. Chris, thank you so much for sharing your insights. To all the participants, thank you for joining us today. I will be sending a follow-up email with a copy of today's recording. And then Chris, if you're okay to share your presentation, I will also attach that to my email as well. And I will provide Chris's contact details should you be interested in engaging with Black marketing. Chris, do you have any closing remarks?
Just if everyone basically can basically look at their profile, make sure it makes sense on their mobile, on their laptop, make sure that basically all the parts are filled in and start posting. I mean, the best thing to do on LinkedIn is to literally start posting original content and be authentic and be true to yourself on LinkedIn to enhance your personal brand. I just say people just go for it and then see what happens, look at the data and then follow the data. And then you'll see your personal posts will work the best and it'll help you achieve the goals you want to in a professional context. And best of luck with it.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Chris. And again, thank you to all our TC members and guests for attending today's session. I'll send a follow-up email. And if you have any inquiries, feel free to let me know. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.